Quick update before we get started. Here in the next week or two, I'm going to finish George R. Martin's Fire and Blood, A History of the Targaryen Family in Westeros. Probably talk about that book a little bit. I'm enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would, given the kind of book it is. It's kind of more like a fictional textbook than an actual story. And it's definitely not the Winds of Winter that I think we've all been wanting for 3 years, but I actually really like it. It's good. So look forward to that. But first, unfortunately, more politics. I'm going to explain something to you that is an analogy that's not going to make a lot of sense until I break it down, because it's something that's slightly more complicated than what I usually talk about, but is ultimately pretty straightforward like all baseline politics is. I want you to imagine Batman for me for a second. Y'all know who Batman is. Now, say in a given year, Batman catches 100 criminals. All well and good, right? So, Batman brings the first 50 criminals to lockup, and the government says, well, Batman, you caught 50 criminals, and that's kind of a lot, so we're going to have to let 10 of the criminals go. 10 of the criminals go. Batman's like, oh, okay, you're the law, I'm just catching the criminals. I'm like going, yeah, all right. So, and then by the end of the year, Batman catches 100 criminals. So the government goes, well, Batman, on the first 50 criminals, we only let 10 criminals go. But now you've caught 100 criminals this year, which is way, way too many. Now, as you know, most of our law enforcement officials around here only catch 10 to 15 criminals a year. You caught 100 criminals. So on the first 50 criminals, we're letting 10 of them go. On that second 50, we're going to have to let 38 of the criminals go. And you only got caught 12. And Batman's like, what the fuck? Why? So, why would Batman ever want to catch 100 criminals? Batman has to let 10 criminals out of the first 50 go, which is bad enough. But if he catches 100 criminals, they let 38 out of the last 50 of them go. And then he only caught 12. So you gotta ask, why would Batman ever catch more than 50 criminals? He only has to let 20% of them go. But if Batman catches 100 criminals, he's letting almost 50% of all the criminals go. He's letting 48 out of 100 go. Why would he do that? Or say Batman still wants to catch all the criminals, because why wouldn't Batman want to catch all the criminals? Well, I'll tell you what Batman wouldn't do. Batman wouldn't tell the government about the second 50 criminals. Batman wouldn't turn those 50 criminals into the government. He'd imprison them himself, keep them himself, or maybe even kill them, who knows. But he wouldn't be able to trust the government to do what was right with the 38 criminals that they let go. So Batman would either A, not catch the second 50 criminals, or B, not tell the government that he caught the second 50 criminals, or turn them into the government at all. What did I just describe to you? Taxes. What makes you think the economy can withstand that kind of tax rate? It's bad enough that if you make $5, the government takes $1. More like as not, the government's taking $2 out of your $5 if you're just about anybody, but a relatively low tax bracket. But say you start to make shit more like $100. Well, the government is, especially what progressives are saying, is they want to take 50 to 75% of that money, because you don't need that much money. So what are you going to do? You're either not going to enact the labor, hire the workforce, create the products that would make you $100. You would avoid that like the plague, because it's either you get taxed 20 or you get taxed 75, or at least 50, depending on where you are. Either way, it's a lot of money. Either you would A, choose not to make that much money. B, find some way to write off that money and not pay it in taxes. Or C, hide it or never tell the government you made it. Either way, the government demands that money, and anybody who can choose not to make it, or can figure out how to hide it, or can literally fucking steal it, they will do one or all of those things. Because why the fuck would you give the fucking government that money when you don't have to? Everybody, where is the company Google located? What location is the headquarters of Google? Did you answer Southern California? You're wrong. Did you answer that Google was an American company? You were wrong. Google is an Irish company. That doesn't make any sense. Almost all of Google's shit is here in America. Google was started here in America. Most of Google's market is here in America. Why are they an Irish company? Taxes. Ireland basically doesn't make them pay corporate taxes. So they're an Irish company. And what do they do with the money that they still are responsible for paying taxes in America? Well, there's a legal tax loophole where they can hide it all in Barbados. And if they hide it all in Barbados, guess what they don't have to do? Pay taxes. So if you tried to say that quote-unquote rich people, which was technically just about anybody making the high six figures according to these kind of progressive tax rates, the progressive platform that wants to do this, the billionaires who have never and likely will never pay their fair share can afford to and absolutely will incorporate in Ireland, pay people to fly over and live and staff a skeleton crew in that headquarters so that they can lie and say that they're an Irish company, and that they can afford the lawyers and assets and the accountants necessary to hide the rest of the money in Barbados, and they don't pay their taxes. Now, what about the guy who has $1 million self-made business, and he makes, $50,000, $60,000 a year, which is just a decent little lower middle class wage off of his end of his $1 million company? Well, his $1 million company will get taxed out of fucking existence because he can't afford that money, nor can he afford to be able to hide or cheat the system. So you're going to strangle all of the middle class out. You will not affect your supposed targets of the big, scary white people in suits rich. And you're going to do it all for what? What is the goal of all of this? Oh, well, the goal of all of this is to put money in the hands of the less fortunate. No, it's not, you fucking retard. The money is going to the government, who's going to waste it on stupid bullshit. You fucking retard. Take another thing that progressives claim to be against, the war on drugs. Well, what do you do when the people who are enacting the war on drugs are local law enforcement, state law enforcement, the FBI, the ATF, and the DEA, and the CIA, and the ATF, DEA, and FBI are all literally the same fucking organization. It's redundant 4 times over. The FBI is got no particular unique mandate that means that they should be handling drug anything when there's already a DEA. And the DEA doesn't even need to exist because there's an ATF. All of those could be a single organization. But no, we have to pay an overstaffed, bloated organization 3 fucking times over. And still, they're so fucking starved for money that the only way an organization like the DEA can keep the lights on is by keeping marijuana illegal, because almost all of the money they make is actually not even from the taxpayers, that, not even from you, the money they rape out of your wallet. But that whenever they bust some fucking street level weed dealer, they don't just take his weed, they don't just take his freedom, they don't just imprison him, they take his car, they take his house, they freeze his bank account, they take all his assets, and they basically charge him under the same RICO statutes that they used to charge fucking mafia kingpins under. And they have to do that, or else they don't have enough money to fund their bloated ass bullshit. And you think the fucking government that is running 3 of those fucking leviathans at once knows how to spend your money. Here's something that'll blow your mind. We'll end with this. You ever hear one of these libertarians or conservatives come out and say they want to abolish the Department of Education? Doesn't that sound horrifying when you don't know what you're talking about? Doesn't that sound insane? Go ask a school teacher sometime what they think of the Department of Education. Go ask a school teacher what they think sometime about the federal funding organization and the way that the federal government pays for and structures the school system in America. Go talk to some school superintendent who's getting fucked one side by the teachers who are super duper fucked, so they're unionizing and coming at him while the federal government is squeezing him from the other end. And you ask him what he thinks of the Department of Education and how much it's done for the schooling system. It's nothing but a fucking vampire. It's worthless. It's a waste of money. It's a self-justification fucking, basically, it's a mafia. It's a protection racket. It's a scam. There is no reason why progressives who claim to think that the big scary government is bad, when all they want to do is give all the guns, all the money, all the power, even control over culture and speech to the fucking government. Is there an idea of how to fix things? This is why I say that progressivism is pure evil, and the only thing that surpasses the evil of progressivism is the sheer, abject, drooling retard stupidity and ignorance of progressivism. It is a fucking less than worthless, cancerous, wasting disease on this country. It is evil. It doesn't work, period.